Hello everybody, hope you're having a great day. Today we're ready to dive into a review of the Exquisite Basics Skull Devil. This is the big one, the mother of all the skull crawlers. Though if you really want to, honestly, you could depict it as just any skull crawler, but in particular, this is the big bad one that we see Kong fight at the end. Perfect for army building. Let's go ahead and talk about this action figure in depth. Alright everybody, here we are with the Skull Devil, or Skull Crawler, or the big one as it's referred to in the movie. This is the Hiya Exquisite Basics line right here. This was very heavily on my radar for some time. We don't see a whole lot of love for, say, like the Skull Crawlers and the Mutos, let's say, in the more detailed line of figures. I feel like this is something that, say, SH Monsterverse or NECA have kind of avoided. But this here, this is definitely one of the first I've had a chance to get my hands on, and there are other Skullcrawler figures. I do believe Playmates had done some, but that's not really just my forte or taste or anything like that. Nothing against anybody who does collect those, but I've got a lot of positive to say about this figure right here, and if you have not made your decision to buy it, well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a few things about this figure, about why I think this is definitely worth the money, and why I'm also extremely proud to own this figure. First of all, though, we got to get into the box. So here is our packaging that we're working with. We have a shot of the Skull Devil, and of course a full-bodied shot down at the bottom detailing Kong Skull Island Skull Devil action figure. It's pretty simple, but honestly I do like it. I think the shot is done really well. And of course we have these nice patterns on the very back right here. And on the back there isn't a whole lot exactly going on. It's a singular shot of the Skull Devil itself, and then after that, of course, we have our information about Hiya Toys Company. And then of course we have the top and the bottom, which is all pretty well the same. And for one side of it we have Kong Skull Island, once again, and then for that a half shot basically of the Skull Devil, which of course does kind of overlap onto the front. And then for that all the way to the other side, that one shot of the Skull Devil, and that pretty well concludes what we have for the packaging. So here we are back to the actual action figure. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the articulation. And the articulation of this figure, it isn't nothing that's too extreme, but it works well enough, and there's something I do want to praise about this, and I believe Hiya has done a great job giving us pretty good representation of these characters, as they're seen on screen and making them into action figures. For this one, I want to go ahead and praise one aspect about this right here. It doesn't matter whether you're opening up the bottom or the top of the jaw, because one way or another, it's all opening up. Say it's kind of like pliers. That right there is a really clever call, and there's something else about this that I will talk about in a moment that needs to be praised. So that is one big thing right there that I think really I am proud to see how they handled that. You move over to the neck and you have 1, 2. Each of these joints really helps each other out to get further articulation, primarily this big cut right here, the second one. But you can move it side to side, up and down, and you are kind of restricted, not a whole lot though. You'll get more restricted as it goes on due to these spines right here. For example, the second one, while it does excel right here when moving it side to side and is extremely fluid and smooth, the issue is the spine does kind of interfere, so there's not much more you can get, but I don't think you really need a whole lot honestly there. Then after that you move on and you have the ab crutch, and you can get it all the way in, all the way back. You want to spin this around, it's not going to happen. This is because the spine right here is going to interfere with it. But again, I don't think this is a major issue because we never saw the Skull Crawlers doing anything too extreme. But I think it gives us enough articulation for what we saw on the film. Now for the tail, we have 2 cuts right here. This figure does not favor, say, like the cut segments that we saw the Godzilla or King Ghidorah do. But in fact, it actually favors this rubbery material right here and a bendy wire. So we'll talk about that more in a moment, more in depth, but you're going to go ahead and move this side to side, and then for the up and down, you kind of get that tail all the way up. So again, just like for the neck, how it did right there, this helps excel and exceed what we had before, and it all works together. This does all about the same right here. Now for the bendy wire. The bendy wire is encased in a really thick rubber. It does seem like it is very well protected. I don't think you'll have to worry about the bendy wire. Let's say if you put too much force on this and this comes out. I'm worried about that for, say, like some of the NECA figures and the Alien figures. This I don't think will be an issue unless you are being too harsh with it. So I wouldn't try pushing it to its limits or anything like that, but it works well enough to where you can go ahead and bend this and get this in certain positions, and it does kind of, like right there you see it kind of going down, but Overall, though, I think it was an interesting call. I don't know whether I would have had, say, like the cut joints or the bendy wire, but I think this is a really well done bendy wire. And one good positive I will say about having a bendy wire is you don't have to worry about having any of those cuts, which are very apparent. Some people don't like to see cuts in their action figures. They want those to be as minimal as possible or masked. This right here is kind of a way around it, and I think that they told this extremely well. So the final part of the articulation is going to be the arms. So for the arms, you can move these out pretty far. In fact, this is actually kind of reminiscent of what we saw on Godzilla vs. Kong, when we saw Mechagodzilla just torment that poor Skullcrawler. God, I felt so bad for him. But yeah, you can get it all the way out, and then after that you have your bicep articulation, which just kind of does move smooth all the way around. It's probably the best right here when it comes to the arms. Like, this is really smooth right here. Double jointed elbows, and then after that down by the hands right here. And this is all the same on each side, so I'm not going to show you each side, but you do have kind of, say, like a ball joint right here, which is around the wrist and separates the hand. And then after that, you can kind of get it in, like, say, like this running pose if you want it. There is one point of articulation I do believe they dropped the ball on. It's not a major complaint, but it's something, if you want me to be honest and give an honest review on this, I'm going to go ahead and say the fingers. They probably could have done something with articulation with the finger digits, but that right there was just kind of ignored. Is it something that I'm bitching about or complaining about? No. I'm really satisfied with what we got in the articulation for this figure, and I don't feel like this needed to be too extreme. And it's probably one of the better as far as being smooth, because it's not fighting me as much. Maybe the neck, but that's about it. So as usual in my reviews, I try to get you guys as close and personal, say, with the detail we have going on in the paint apps right here. The detail, though, one thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the mouth right here. Now, I mentioned that I praised this big time, but there's one thing about this that I think is really interesting, and when you do open up this mouth right here, if you feel around right here and you kind of notice right here, the tongue is more of, say, like a pliable, rubbery material. Then after that, I'd say as you go further into the mouth, it is very stiff, just a regular plastic. But if you noticed right around the mouth right here, the fact that it has this rubbery material just makes it more lifelike as you open this jaw right here. And that is a major W for this figure because of the fact that it just doesn't take a solid plastic piece and go ahead and just use it in there. I mean, this is an extremely, like, it looks fantastic. Like, on the inside, I have not had an action figure that they've done anything like this, and it's something that I really want to see become more normalized when it comes to characters like this. Furthermore, moving on with this action figure, we have the top of the head, which makes use of, say, these bone white colors, and this goes all the way around, basically this beak right here, but notice how it kind of fades into this dark green right here. It's kind of like, say, like a military green all the way to about a light green that we have going on. And this is the primary color palette that we see for this action figure between the bone white and the dark greens and the light greens that we have. But it just basically fades all the way around. And I do believe, as far as detail-wise, this is an interesting figure to look at, honestly. Especially from an upper aerial view right here. It's just definitely one of those ones that I believe is a kind of a slept-on design as far as, let's say, the original kaiju that we see in the Monsterverse. The Skullcrawlers is one of the better, even though this is technically based on an older kaiju from the original King Kong. But then after that, it just basically just continues to just stripes out right here. And I really love the texture that we have going on for the back right here. This bony spine right here just completely just works so well, and it goes all the way down. Just move all the way down to the tail right here, and the tail does get kind of barbed right here. This is something that I didn't notice in the actual movie when I was watching it. There's so much happening, and the thing is, we actually got a good look at the Skullcrawler and its overall design in the film. It's not like, say, Godzilla 2014, which was extremely blanketed with darkness and just not that very good as far as what you can see. We do have this little spike going on, and then after that it does get kind of bony around the forearms right here. And then after that, the feet kind of remind me of, say, like raptor feet, essentially, that we have going on. A good look at the bottom of the hands of this action figure right here kind of makes me think of a frog. I don't know why, but that's just the vibe I'm getting. And of course we do have the extremely bony belly going on right here, and it does go all the way into that light green and just continues all the way in with the tail and just gets darker gradually as it goes along. So we have plenty of detail everywhere on this figure, from the arms, the neck, the body, and the tail, and I do believe they captured the essence of this action figure extremely well. So as I begin to conclude the review of this figure, let's do some size comparisons. First of all, we have the SH Monster Arts Gigan. Next up, we have our Hiya Godzilla 2019. SH Monster Arts Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. And finally, Mechagodzilla 2021. Well, this pretty well concludes my take of the Skull Devil action figure. Really, I can only think of two drawbacks for this action figure. I do believe they should have went ahead and put some peg holes in the feet, because those are absent. Now, this isn't exactly a big deal due to the fact that you can go ahead and just stand him as it is, as you see in this video right here. However, though, I think it would be nice to have that tail a little bit more balanced and kind of in the air, because unless you can figure out the weight distribution, which is a little difficult and I haven't bothered with it too much, it's one of those things that's hard to do. But for some people, stands are convenient. I don't think I'm going to need one, and I kind of like the stance he's in right now. The other drawback is, like I said, those finger digits. It'd be nice to see those move. Overall, though, for $50, this is a decent action figure. It still might be outside of people's price range of what they're wanting to pay. I feel like people might be more apt to pay $25 to $30. However, this is $50, and this is a pretty decent price. Probably better than whatever, let's say that SH Monster Arts ever gets around to doing a Skullcrawler. Expect it to be pricier. But it's great to see some love for the Skullcrawler and the Muto, which is coming soon, which a lot of these non-Toho Godzilla and Kong figures don't get the love they deserve, probably because they're less marketable. That said, let me know, do you like this figure? Has it been worth it? Are you going to get it? Ask any questions away in the comment section. Like, subscribe. Thank you for watching.